Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the CJJC 28 Grapple Party Breakout Show presented to you by Matt Rats. I'm Jordan Kurtz, sitting here alongside Kat Paprocki. Kat, how are you doing today?
I'm doing extremely well.
We've got a stacked card. This is going to be a main event between two high-level brown belt competitors. We have Cody Brundish, who's going to be taking on Logan Weintraub. This is a 205-pound no-gi matchup. Both guys brown belts. Logan coming out of the Easton system. He's had 3 tournaments with podium finishes throughout the course of this year. Cody Brundage has competed for us as well multiple times. He's also had multiple fights within the UFC over this last year. This is going to be, again, 2 guys with a high degree of skill, big boys who are going to go out there with a big game ready to showcase for the fans.
Yeah, man. Every time that Cody is on, he's exciting, he's explosive, he's fantastic. I'm always eager to see who comes out of Easton's. Easton always has a phenomenal product. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Certainly. And then in the co-main event, we have a matchup between Alejandro Rodriguez coming out of Black Sheep Universe MMA, who is taking on Tyler Hampton out of Pagusco Combat Club. He is a CJJC vet. Alejandro himself is a pro MMA fighter who has had a plethora of grappling experience throughout his years. You know, these are again a couple of guys who have a lot of combat sports experience. You know, both running on pretty much a decade plus of time that they've spent on the mats and within the gym. I think that this is going to be another opportunity for a couple of these guys to go out there and showcase a high degree of skill set.
Yeah. Tyler Hampton is old school CJJC. He was on one of our very first pro shows as well. So super excited to have him back. Excited to see what Alejandro can bring.
The next matchup from that, we have what's about to be a what?
Girl fight.
We have Alexander Anderson of the Sanctuary. She is also a CJJC vet, taking on another veteran of our cage in Alexa Johnson, coming out of AMAG. They are in a 155-pound no-gi matchup. This is a matchup between a couple of very contrasting styles. You have Alexandra, who won her last matchup with us by a triangle. She's going to bring a high degree of technical jiu-jitsu to this matchup. And on the flip side with Alexa, I think Alexa is somebody who has a story that can be marveled at, or very certainly at least respected in the sense of the journey that she's had. When she first started competing, she was much different appearance-wise. You know, she's had a incredible physical transformation. She's leveled up her game from a technical perspective. And I think that that alone is very admirable. And at the core, that's a big value of what we are as martial artists, right? Is being able to transform ourselves in mind, body, and spirit.
Absolutely. I'm also curious, like how the cage plays in because Alexa has an MMA background. However, Alexandra is jujitsu only. I was very impressed with Alexandra. Her last performance on our show, she won with a triangle. At the time, she was a blue belt.
Certainly. And then this next matchup, I mean, I'm
I have so much to say.
so thrilled about this matchup. I mean, both of these guys, I like them. I'm friends with both. But at the end of the day, though, I do have to mention on the one side of things, well, I am teammates with one of them, and I am very closely connected in the sense of he is now also a coach at our gym, and that is Jason Mullen, who is going to be taking on Zach Lindsay. Zach Lindsay with you guys at DCO,
Yeah.
Jason Mullen with us over at Factory X.
Yeah.
You know, this is, I think, more what we're looking at is we're looking at an athlete who has a very strong set of physical attributes
Absolutely.
versus someone who has a higher depth of experience from a technical perspective with
Sure.
a little bit more tools in the bag. But when you get into the heat of competition, sometimes the athlete can overcome some of those things just based off of those attributes of being a bull, being maybe a little bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, that could also work against you because when you
Absolutely.
have somebody who has all those different tools within their tool belt,
Yeah.
well, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And
Yeah.
that veteran pulls some tricks out of his sleeve and you're like, you find yourself in a position, oh, wow,
Yeah.
this has not been something that I've had to face in this moment. And
Absolutely.
I think that again, it's not to, I don't say this or I don't mean this to come off in a disrespectful fashion, but when you look at where, because they're both MMA fighters too
Yeah,
as well,
absolutely.
Jason Mullen has more submission wins than Zach has fights.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Zach, though, man, you can't count him out ever. He comes into our gym every day and he says, I'm going to get my brown belt after I beat up on Jason. And I'm like, Zach, that's not how it works. However, he is training hard. I think what's going to surprise Jason is Zach's grappling is probably something Jason hasn't felt yet. Jason does probably have better jujitsu. However, man, Zach has pressure. He's grimy and he is in really, really great shape. And I love that they're both coming in thinking like I am going to maul him. It's exciting. I'm gonna see something great.
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking the caliber with certain training or pressure, all of that could be certainly relative because when we're talking about, I mean, we just talked about one of Cody's teammates in Cody Brundage, or excuse me, in Jason's teammates in Cody Brundage.
Totally.
We've also had some of his other teammates on our cards in the past, like AJ Fletcher, to
So
other
good.
guys who are respected black belts in the community, like Professor Austin Jones, and so on and so forth. So,
Absolutely.
I think that he definitely has the right pieces in place to prepare him for somebody who is the former collegiate athlete and just has the athletic family and background the way that Zach does.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, when it comes to competition, that's why you got to make the walk. There are more factors than what are just something that you could put tangibly on paper
Yeah.
when it comes time to actually having the lights on and having to go compete.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And in the following matchup, we have another guy who is a veteran of our cage who he's just tremendous to work with no matter what the environment is, whatever the show is. I've worked with him across multiple different platforms. I've had him within interview sequences before, all of that. And that's Ben Bennett. Ben Bennett is taking on Silas Armetta. This is a 195-pound no-gi matchup. Now, Ben is a veteran again across multiple different combat sport disciplines, whereas Silas is a specialist, but Silas also has a very high level of professor who he's training under
Absolutely.
in Scotty Miller. Scotty is a guy who when you watch Scotty's game, it's so translatable to things that work well in the CJJC
Yeah.
cage because it's got a good blend of like catch wrestling in the mix. He's a disciple of that Neil Melanson system, which has had tremendous success within grappling that we've seen in the cage from guys all the way back like Randy Couture all the way through to now and in present. But then again, in the same breath, you have Ben Bennett who trains with a stable of killers and has proven himself on the highest of high levels.
Absolutely. And he's hilarious. He when Steven was over there to do his interview, he was like, I've just been practicing. I've just been like staring at them and threatening them from afar. And he's just a humorous guy. He was our main event a little while back against AJ Fletcher, and he can grapple, man.
Oh yeah,
He
absolutely.
can grapple. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, like I say, Ben's he's a tremendous guy to work with, and no matter what the platform, I love the kid. He's a great personality to have in the combat
He's
sports
so
community,
funny.
and we need to have those wild cards out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The next matchup is this one might be a fast, high energy matchup
Yes.
based on the competitors that we have there in the mix. You have John Sparks also coming out of Evergreen, taking on Tyree Wolfork of AMAG. Now, Tyree's a guy who he's competed also across multiple combat sports disciplines. I've had him in the 5280 ring. I've had him in the Colorado Combat Club cage, and then also having him here in the CJJC cage. This kid is a gamer who has a tremendous amount of experience. He is no stranger to making the walk.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes alone that is a factor that, for maybe some of these guys who don't have as much competition experience or maybe not necessarily competition, because tournament competition, in my opinion, is different from a pro style show.
Absolutely.
In a
Absolutely.
tournament, you can stay hot, you can run through the bracket, maybe you get a little bit of momentum. There's not the focus solely on you. You're not thinking solely of this one person
Yes.
for, the 6, 8 weeks, whatever it is of the buildup, where sometimes for some, those demons manifest themselves when you're having to just focus and fixate on one particular person and target.
Absolutely.
Whereas in a tournament, sometimes as a competitor, you can just say, go be an athlete, go be free.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I'm excited for both competitors. Evergreen MMA is clearly pumping out great products. They have two competitors on the main card, as well as we're gonna be previewing a little bit later on Seth.
Mhm.
Man, I have nothing but positive things to say about them over there. Tyree, man, he is scrambly. He's scrappy. And in his interview, he was talking about that his style is just very unique and awkward. And I'm excited to see what that is.
Yeah, and Tyree, I think he's hungry to probably go out there and get a victory or to, for lack of a better term, get the taste out of his mouth. He fought in an MMA fight against a high degree wrestler in Therius Robeson, who we've had also in the CJJC cage.
He's a stud
Yeah,
on the
and
ground.
I
Whew.
just think that in this particular scenario, being the gamer, being the competitor that Tyree is, Tyree wants to go out there and get his hand raised and again just shed that taste that he had from the
Absolutely.
last fight, where there was definitely some frustrations in that matchup, just because when you're dealing with such a fast, high level wrestler the way that Therius is, it's
Absolutely.
tough to deal with, especially when we're talking about 3-minute rounds
Yes.
in an amateur MMA fight.
Yes.
There's not a lot of time to work with if you have somebody who has really good hips and who is fast to the takedown or
Yes.
has multiple ways to get you there.
Yes.
So him having a little bit more time within the rounds to be able to work
Yeah.
in this particular format, I think that again, you're going to see a kid who wants to go out there. He's going to grapple with his head on fire, if you will, and wants to go get a victory.
That is a great way of starting off our main card then.
Certainly.
I love it.
That's our main card right there, folks. Now, we also have a bracket that's going to be going down within the show, a 4-man bracket. So there's going to be a match that is as far as the winner for that. And we'll also have naturally consolation match within that. But we'll get back to our scheduled matchups just simply because we don't know who's going to be in those championship and consolation rounds at this stage. The next matchup from that, we are going to have our gi matchup that's going to be on the card. We have Junior Zamora taking on Disdeo Belfone.
Yeah. I love gi. I am a gi person, and I always love when people are open to doing gi in a cage. I love that. It's fun.
Yeah, gi itself, it's kind of faded in terms of its overall popularity over the course of the last few years, right?
Yeah,
But there is still great value to it.
of course.
I've actually recently done a little bit more work, just technical work on the mats with Professor James Hardy,
Okay.
doing some more gi stuff.
Yeah.
And in a way, it kind of, after not doing it for so long,
Okay.
there's a little bit of a reinvigoration that's happened for that side of things, just because you kind of forget some of the little things that that we knew or that was taught from an early stage, but
Sure.
just from doing nogi for so long, you just forget about certain loop chokes or using the lapel to your advantage, or when going through sequences just as simple as guard passing, using the pant leg to be able to staple their leg down and prevent them from being able to start to scramble.
Yes.
Whereas in nogi, there's nothing that you can grab onto. You're dealing with slipperiness. It slows everything down when you're
Slows
working in the
everything
gi
down.
because of all of the friction, and it's basically it's dry.
Yes. Yes. As a smaller person too, and an older person, I really love gi because I can grab onto something. I can slow you down. I remember the first tournament I ever did as a purple belt. This brown belt grabbed my collar and she kept that grip and choked me with it 3 minutes later. And it's just such a chess match. Um, it's awesome.
It's
It's the
definitely
best.
it's a different game all the
Yes,
way around, which
absolutely.
from a viewer's perspective, it opens up some different elements that might be presented to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The next matchup, we have another couple of veterans who have competed for us a multitude of times. You have the young bull and Seth Tumbleson. Seth Tumbleson coming out of Evergreen as well as Factory X. He's taken on Jeremiah Sperling. This is two very different body types in this matchup.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have Jeremiah, who's really long and lanky, and
Yes.
Seth is just, I mean, he's going to be at a height and a reach
Explosive,
disadvantage.
fast,
But Seth's wrestling, I feel like, is going to be
Yes.
a superior advantage in this instance. Now, Jeremiah, though, his ability to, at times, to invert or start going toward the leg game,
Yes.
I think that that may be where he has a bit of an advantage, if you will.
Yes.
But at the same time, Seth trains with a lot of killers on a regular basis
Absolutely.
over at Factory X. So I think that he's been put in some very uncomfortable positions at times, and
Yes.
he's had a high degree of success for us. But then at the same time, Jeremiah has also done well for us. He hasn't,
Absolutely.
even in the matchups where they haven't necessarily gone his way, he still showed himself very well in the process.
Well, his last match on the tattoo convention, he went against Anthony Pendy, and he snatched a triangle grip up so quick. It was impressive. So as he's fine tuning that, man, I think he's dangerous. What I love is that both Seth and Jeremiah, they've not only competed for our regular CJJC shows, but they've also both been on our Grapple game shows, which is just fun. It shows that they both just enjoy competing.
Certainly. And then the next matchup is going to be an exciting one. Contested at 130 pounds. Cameron Santos coming out of Catalyst. That's a kid who, anybody who they put out, who Professor Paul Hamas puts out there on the mats, they're going to be a gamer.
Oh, he's a dog.
And
He's a dog.
His first matchup that he had against Seth Tumbleson might not have won his way, but at the tattoo convention, not only did he bring a crowd, like an entire crowd, Catalyst always
entire
shows
group.
up in the first place,
Yes.
but he had an entire section for himself.
Yes.
And somebody who understands it, who
Yeah.
gets that part of it, who also understands that you have to sell yourself and bring people here to watch you in the process.
Yeah.
That's something that I love to see. But he's also going to be taking on a very game and tough opponent in Ray Maldonado.
Yes.
I really think that you're going to see a couple of guys who are a little bit newer in their journey as compared to maybe, say, some of the competitors that we spoke of on the main card.
Yep.
But two guys who are high degree in terms of their willingness to compete again and
Yes.
going out there and wanting to put on a show, doing something entertaining. And sometimes in these lower belt matchups, if you will, we sometimes get the more exciting matches because these guys don't know what they don't know yet, and they're willing to go out there and take risks. They're fast, they're scrambly,
Yes.
at times almost erratically,
Yes.
but
Oh, blue
that
belts.
also makes for
Yeah.
some of the best or some of the more entertaining matchups.
Yes.
Whereas when we look at sometimes, the higher degree guys, well, they're chess players at that point.
Absolutely.
The younger guys or the guys who are a little bit newer in
They
their
don't
journey,
have anything to
they're still
lose.
kind of playing checkers a little bit.
Yes. Yes.
A little bit with reckless abandon. Whereas the guys who, when you scale it up, they understand the pieces on the chessboard a little bit more. They understand the risks
Yes.
a little bit more in certain aspects, if that's fair to say.
Yeah.
And I think that at times, though, when you get some of these guys who they're just willing to go out there and say, hey, you know what? For this entire 5 minutes, I'm going to go sprint and whatever happens, happens.
Yes.
With some, some technique and trying to follow the game plan, but they're willing to go out there, basically be 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Take my money. That's entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah. I also wanted to point out that whenever a competitor has a really big crowd, I feel like that means that they are training super hard, and it's easy to get the people around you excited about something when you're training really hard and you're talking about it and you're just putting on the grind. And so whenever I see Cameron, man, I just know like he must be training hard. Ray Maldonado is one of the nicest people ever, but I love to tease him because his truck, whenever he shows up, his plate is like Ray Juj jujitsu or something. And I love that. I think like he must love jujitsu then. So
Sure.
I'm excited, man. I love these two.
And I think that momentum of your team also sometimes is a factor though as well.
Sure.
And granted it's been on the MMA side of things, but they're all tight knit and they're all in the same training room.
Yes.
You've had from that Catalyst crew recently, obviously we mentioned Cameron's previous win, but his routine or guys who he's in the room with all the time, Connor Leonard just put on one of the greatest
Oh,
fights in Colorado history.
stud. Yeah, absolutely.
Then
Who's
Vic
also
Rangel.
been on our show.
Exactly. Both him and his brother,
Yep.
Colin, have also been vets of the CJJC cage.
Yeah.
But Vic Rangel,
Okay. Yeah.
another stud who went out there and had a big victory, got a finish in his MMA debut, as well as Will Roybal, who
Awesome.
has competed for us as well.
Yeah.
That's a
Building
crop
momentum,
of
man.
young guys
Yeah.
who are all hungry, who are working their asses off on a regular basis and putting in the time to grow their game. And again, I just think that success is kind of contagious.
It
It
is.
builds upon itself.
It is
So I think
absolutely
that that's a
contagious.
credit to Professor Pahamas and the work that he's put in with them, but also credit to those guys being gamers
Yes.
and them going out there and essentially saying, yeah, we're not supposed to be the guys who come in and win against these big gyms or against these bigger name competitors. That this is directly what Colin has told me, or excuse me, what Connor has told me before.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, like I take that as a challenge. I put that as a chip on my shoulder that
Yeah.
I'm coming from this smaller school in northern Colorado that all these big schools may overlook at times.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go out there and my goal is to run through your face. Connor is obviously he's a lot more of the vocal one for a lot of that crowd.
Okay.
But I know that they all kind of follow his lead in that process, if that
Sure.
makes sense.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm excited.
Then the next matchup is a 145-pound matchup of a couple of guys who are active on the competition scene as well. You have Ben Gerson, who I've worked with 5280 before. I also know that he's been active across multiple other platforms for
Yeah.
competition. He comes out of Black Sheep MMA Universe, trains under Alejandro Rodriguez. He's going to be taking on Jorge Venzer. I call him George. George is a great kid, man.
He's a treat to have on too.
George trains at Factory X. He is a kid who, on any day, you go in during a training time or when the gym is open, there's a good chance that you're going to
He's
see
there.
him there.
Awesome.
He's there doing one-on-ones with coaches. He's doing group classes. He's staying after and he's drilling. He's there at open mats.
That's
He's
cool.
a kid who he's had to go through such insane adversity in his personal life just to get to the point where he's at right now, and to have the positive outlook on life, to have the disposition that he has despite some of the circumstances that he's had to overcome. Again, when we start talking about, what it means for us as martial artists to have those transformations, I think that he is a perfect example and epitome of that.
That's cool.
He's someone who completely changed his life from some of his early stages. If you follow him on Instagram, you'll see a post that kind of alludes to that he had just within the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
And like I say, he's a kid who I hold very close, near and dear to my heart, just because he's one of those that you never walk away from a conversation from him and not feel better about yourself, even from those first couple of minutes. He's that kid who, when he goes to the gym, his energy is infectious because, there's a lot of people who they just go in, they do their work, they're in, they're out. Hey, you might have been there the same day, but you didn't really chat or you didn't say anything, whatever. But
Yes.
he's that guy who goes around and makes it an effort or makes a conscious effort to go around and to shake everybody's hand, to say hi, to acknowledge that you're there and just say, hey, man, just wanted to say hi.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys who has that sort of demeanor. And,
That's pretty cool.
I love that about the kid.
Absolutely. I also think too that like when martial arts has helped you grow or has changed you, you really have a lot of love for just the community
Mhm.
that helped you, that fostered you, that helped you to find the place that you are in now. So how cool.
Certainly. And
Love that.
in his last competition with us, or his last time when he went up against Jeremiah Sperling, hey, not making excuses for him by any means, but what most don't know or what they don't see was that was the day, the matchup that he had, that was in place way before. But what he didn't know and what he had been working for so long is trying to get on the fight team. We have tryouts to be able to
Okay.
get on the team.
Okay.
Well, part of that is it's a pretty heavy physical
Is
training
he
session.
i-
That was
is
that morning.
he on there now?
He
Is
missed
he
the
on?
run time
Oh,
by just a short amount, but he's in the process of trying to get
Jorge,
back through
run
for it.
faster.
But yeah, that's usually what catches most people up, and it's more or less, our thought, or Coach Mark's thought process is kind of follows some special forces military aspects
Okay.
to it in that
Okay.
sense, and making the run time, he says, is more of a mental thing versus a physical thing.
Absolutely.
Can you make it within those? But Jorge went through all of that tryout that morning
Wow. And
because
then
it was
he
like,
was on
well,
our
I've been
show.
training this entire year to try to make the team. Like, I can't just blow off
Yeah.
we only have a couple of tryouts per year.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so he did that before, and he said, like, man, I was almost like freaking out of, should I pull out of this match? But I couldn't let them down. I couldn't leave them hanging in this sense. But the entire drive over there, my legs were already shaking from doing the run and going through the physical portion of the tryout.
Sure. Sure.
But it's not like he went out there and showed himself poorly.
No, he did
That I
great
think
still.
that goes to show what sort of heart and what sort of just willingness to push himself to go be better, or to go to try to achieve something more,
Yeah.
that Jorge has within himself. And I may be talking him up a little bit in this aspect, but when you have somebody who, like I say, puts in the time and the effort that he does, I think that does need to be celebrated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it.
And then we're going to have a couple of bracket matchups from our foreman, which we're going to talk through those competitors here in just a second. But back to our scheduled matchups on the card, we have another guy who he's competed for us before, and Langdon King. Langdon is going to be taking on CJ Chavez. Chavez and Langdon are going to be competing in a 175-pound nogi matchup. Hey, again, this is a couple of guys who I think probably going to see some high energy in the process.
Totally. Excitement, explosiveness, aggression. I think the last time that CJ Chavez was on our card, he was so aggressive. I was like, damn. That's awesome.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And then we have a matchup between Martin Arenas and Ray Mendoza. Now, when we start talking about scrappy and
This
just
is the
scrambly.
second matchup that's been your teammate versus my teammate. So
Hey.
you can go fuck yourself, Jordan.
We got to keep that in. But in this particular one, we're talking about two guys though who are flyweights. They're 125 pounders for this matchup,
Yes.
and that's when you start to see some real crazy fast scrambles in the mix. These guys are light on their feet.
Very light, yeah.
They're both newer within their journey overall.
Absolutely.
So it comes back to some of that. Well, they're full of piss and vinegar, don't know what they don't know yet, and they're both trying to just run through each other's face.
Yeah, yeah. Ray is a very good wrestler. I'm excited to see his pressure. He's been training on and off for a very long time, and it seemed like getting this match sparked a fire under him, and he has been training so hard. And more than just the match himself, I'm excited to see just overall what this match has started for him.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And Martin, he's a great kid as well. I don't know him as well as I know George.
Yeah.
But they're homies. They're connected at the hip.
Awesome.
And so in a lot of those times where you're seeing George, well, who is also right there, right behind him.
Yeah.
That's again, I think that sometimes that work ethic also translates to the people that you're around. Not just the successes that we spoke of being contagious, like as in the Catalyst crew, but sometimes it's more or less like hey, bro, if you're going to be hanging around me, like, we're going to the gym.
Yes.
We're going and we're putting in work. We're not going and hanging around or being in the mix of other BS that may thwart us from being able to achieve our goals. No, we're directed. We have a vision. We have something that we're trying to work toward. And in some of these guys' cases, and it's a lot of young combat sports athletes, period, you're trying to chase a better life. You're trying to escape maybe some circumstances or some adversity that was unfortunate, and in a lot of cases to no doing of your own, but you're just trying to go achieve more. You want to be more.
Yeah.
And I think that this this is a first step for Martin, really taking a step. He's competed on some of the local tournaments. I believe his last tournament he won double gold.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
again, this is a kid who he has competed before,
Yes.
but it is a limited time of competition, and he's never competed on a stage like this.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think that when we start talking about, again, when you can be a competitor, and some of these guys who did do a little bit of wrestling back in their day,
Yeah.
well, you're used to going and being in the bracket or going and competing in a wrestling tournament, an invitational, whatever it may be, to where you have a few matches throughout the day. And it's just, hey, go be an athlete.
Yes.
There's just one guy that is being put in front of you that you don't know. I mean, you may a couple of days in advance see who the first guy in the bracket
Yes.
is that you go against. But beyond that, it's however the competition unfolds.
Absolutely.
Whereas, again, when you start thinking about the mental aspect of having to prepare for somebody specifically,
Yes.
and in these less experienced guys, there's not a lot to be able to study. There's not a lot to be able to go and look at or to be able to evaluate.
Right.
But it's the mental demons that sometimes can manifest themselves. And I think that whoever can manage that more efficiently or more effectively in the process, I think
Absolutely.
that that's who we're going to see get their hand raised.
Yeah. Yeah. It is something that you don't get to practice, being in that back area, being nervous, having to wait until it's time, having to walk out and there's lights all over, going in, hearing it close. Yeah, I am excited for how they do.
Absolutely. And then our next matchup, we have a couple of young studs.
They're all pretty young and great and fantastic.
But these guys
Nowadays.
are teenagers, though.
They're so good.
And they are already at such a high degree of caliber within their skill sets and what they've shown us before. You know, we have Michael Ortiz taking on Corey Lobato.
Yes.
This is a 125-pound no-gi matchup. I'm excited for what these guys bring, because in some of these matchups where we have our teenagers in the mix,
Yeah.
the technical acumen and the execution of what they put forth in the cage is something that, to me, is like, this is something that needs to be marveled at, because
Yes.
there are adults that can't do these things.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Michael Ortiz just changed gyms, so I'm curious how that either hinders him or helps him. Corey, I'm excited to see, because Corey took Jesse Fabiano on with like 48 hours, and it was impressive. So I'm excited to have him back. He's had a full camp, and he's pretty darn good. So I'm excited.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Looking forward to those young scrappers getting after it.
Yeah.
And now let's talk about our bracket here for a second. We have a four-man bracket that's going down with a few different competitors across multiple different academies in the area.
Yep.
You have Jason Gillen out of Ludwig Martial Arts. There is also going to be Jake Richardson of Onyx Sports. You have Kobe Tafoya of High Altitude Martial Arts. And then you have Joshua Oakes of Onyx Jiu-Jitsu. Keep in mind, folks, two different Onyx academies.
Yes.
Not related, spelled different, everything so on and so forth. But, you know, in these bracket formats, it brings a little bit of a different element of adversity for our pro shows, because you have that first guy that you're ready to go up against, but then it's a wild card after that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And when you've competed and you get done, you've got like adrenaline, you're kind of winding back down, and then to have to go ramp that back up again, it's still a little different than just a regular tournament, because all the focus is still on you. You still have to make that walk again. So I'm excited to see how they do. I know that Joshua Oakes has competed for us prior. The other three are CJJC debuters, so I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely. Now, and all four of them will come from decorated, highly respected camps from around the area.
Absolutely.
So I think that in terms of what their preparation is going to look like, I think that they're all going to have, you know, a high degree of preparation from their respective camps and the people who are involved within their time leading up to this card.
Yeah.
But there is something to say about having that experience within our cage directly. And then also, as you mentioned, you know, you've got to get hot twice.
Yes, hot twice.
And how does the adrenaline dump factor in? Is it something that does it all for some? Some,
Yes.
it doesn't. For
Yes.
others, it could be a very heavily weighing factor in the process. And that's, that's all a part of being able to manage the smiles and cries of competition, especially when you're in this type of format.
Yeah, yeah. And two, it is a cash bracket. So there is a cash prize,
Dollar
which
bills,
brings a
y'all.
whole other element of hunger and aggression. And there are not a lot of ways, especially early on, for jujitsu practitioners to get cash or to get paid. So we are always excited to have on a cash bracket format.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, that as far as our matchups, folks, that wraps us up for all of the talks as far as our competitors there. Who do you have your eyes on? Who are you most interested in seeing? We love hearing your feedback. We love having you engage with us on what you like to see or who might be the person who you're showing up and they're rallying to support. Let us know. Hit us up on Instagram at the CJJC Cage. Also, make sure that you hit that like, share, and subscribe button across our channels there so that you don't miss a beat. You get to have all the latest and greatest updates for our future shows and future things that are happening. We're going to be having the Matt Rats podcast launching toward the end of December. We also have other things that are going to be in the works as far as our future shows and things that we're just trying to continue to elevate and amplify our platform going into 2026.
Absolutely.
Also, with that though, we have our itinerary for what our show is going to be going down for CJJC 28 Grapple Party. Now, what are the details, Kat? Can you share with us where, if people want to check out weigh-ins,
Absolutely.
what's the timeline, all that sort of stuff? What are those details?
Please join us Friday, December 5th at the Ugly Dog Sports Cafe. Ace-offs will be live starting at 11:45. Guys, they have great food there, great drinks. Hang out, come and enjoy a great showing. Then on Saturday, December 6th, it is Grapple Party event day. Doors will open at the Stampede in Aurora at 12. Early prelims will be starting at 12:30. Again, it is a stacked card. You guys want to be there for sure.
Definitely. Make sure that you come and check us out for each of those. Also, want to give a shout out to my man Clive, going to be in the mix doing some post match interviews. If you can give him a follow on Instagram as well, I believe it's Clive DC underscore. I might be mistaking that handle just slightly, but you will find him on there in the mix. This is a bright young man who has a tremendous future, both in the martial arts world as a competitor that he has aspirations to be, as well as on the media side of things. He has a Stories of Glory podcast. He just had Sam Alvey, who had that multi-week long little feud going back and forth with that troll online. So, he's a great kid. He's in the gym every night, working his ass off, trying to better himself. He's posting on his stories about him going on his runs and doing his extra work outside of the gym. So that's a kid who I'm really high on myself, just because he has the passion and the will to go out there and to try to help grow our martial arts community just as well as growing himself in the process. So you could also check him out. That's my man Clive. So he will be there doing interviews post matches that day as well. But that wraps us up right here for the CJJC 28 Grapple Party Breakout Show presented by Matt Rats. I'm Jordan Kurtz, sitting here alongside Kat Paprocki. We will see you there.